Hey everyone, this is Matt, and in today's video we'll be talking about more Dark Magician spicy techs. Recall that the last few videos I put out about Dark Magician, I talked about like the side decking options and new tech options, and then in the previous video I talked about how even like my deck list video, deck profile video, I talked about how there's alternative normal summoning options you could have as well. So in this video we're going to talk about those. So recall that I had 10 side deck slots. Right now I cut it down to 9, and I'll explain why in a bit. But recall that in my last video I'm running 3 Skill Drain, 2 Super Poly, 2 Chalice, 2 Droll. So I actually in my last video talked about that I was running 3 Chalice, and then I wanted to drop a Chalice for 3 Droll. I actually decided, you know what, I'm going to keep 2 of each of these and then keep Skill Drain at 3. I was like, but wait, doesn't that mean that I have one fewer like interruption or like side deck slot for my matchups? Well, sort of. I'll explain why I did this, but basically I found that from playtesting this, that these were enough side deck slots to account for pretty much any matchup going first or second when I'm side decking. So what do I mean by that? So let's go back to my side deck again. Our going second side deck, where we typically go. Always side in if we're going second, 3 evenly match, 3 dark ruler, no more, right? So I might think, okay, so if this is what we're siding in, what do we take out? Well, if we know we're going second, we can probably take out Skill Drain, right? And we usually do. I mean, but don't get it twisted. Like Skill Drain is still decent going second, so that accounts for at least like these 3, right? What about these other 3? Well, now you kind of have to like mix and match based on what you feel is very matchup dependent. Like obviously of these 3 here in the middle, Super Poly is the best for going second, but of course it's very matchup dependent. If they don't have any Super Poly targets, then you would take these out. Like if you were so I would say like take out probably these 3. Again, it depends on the matchup. If they're searching a lot, keep the 1 single Droll. If they're not really searching much, keep a single Chalice. This is fine. And then you also have the option, if you don't want, if they're more back row heavy, and you're going second, to put in your Cosmics, take out this Chalice, maybe take out some of these. Like against Eldritch, right? You wouldn't use these, you wouldn't really need these. You mostly focus on these. But yeah, just to keep that in mind, that we're still able to side deck cards in that we need. So it's not a big deal that we're cutting down the total number of slots. Right? So that's for going second. What about for going first? One change that I made is that I'm now running. So I decided to drop Solemn Judgment, and I'll explain why in a bit. And now my going first options that I like: 4 copies of Secret Village of the Spellcaster, and 3 Summon Limit. So recall that in my original deck profile video, I had 3 Solemn Judgment and I had 2 Summon Limit, right? So I decided to drop the Solemn Judgments. So why I do this? So one thing I felt is that the thing about the current format is that a lot of decks are running the Adventure Package, right? And the Adventure Package is such that if they're able to get their Griffin Rider on the field, it basically completely nullifies your Dragoon negate, right? So let's say you go first, you set up a Dragoon, and then they you pass or whatever, they start going into their adventure stuff, right? Yeah, if the Griffin Rider hits the field, not only is that an Omni negate that can absorb your Dragoon Omni negate, right? So if you try to negate something with Dragoon, they can negate your Dragoon with Griffin. So basically, you're forced to basically use Dragoon to negate Fateful Adventure. In which case, they can now like combo off. And if you have no other interruptions, they have a field day, right? And I felt like a card like Solemn Judgments wasn't really helping with that much. You just pay like a ton of life points, and maybe they attack your Anaconda anyway. I don't know. I just felt like I needed a better going for a side deck option against decks that ran the Adventure Package. So that's why I decided on 4 Secret Village here. Secret Village Spellcaster is amazing because, first of all, Rite of Aramasir is a spell card, so they need a spellcaster to be on the field to even play it. If you have Secret Village and like let's say Dragoon, Fateful Adventure also, like if they hard drew it, like also a spell card, right? And a lot of cards that out your Dragoon, Droplet, Dark Ruler No More, Triple Tactics, Super Poly, are all spells, right? So if you're able to shut off their spells, I just feel like that's way more useful than a Solemn Judgment can do. Like I feel like this Floodgate is better than a Solemn Judgment. Like So because we've been seeing a lot less evenly matches, right? And the reason we're seeing a lot less evenly matches is because Lancia is everywhere, right? Lancia counters evenly match. We are seeing more spells that blow up back row: Lightning Storm, Harpies, Twin Twisters, Cyclone, right? Secret Village stops all of that, right? So yeah, so I'm doubling down on the Secret Village here because I really feel like from playtesting online and at my last locals that this card is amazing. Now I know why some of you are thinking, hey, isn't Water Enchantress of the Temple a spellcaster? If they summon her, can't they play spells? Yes, but that requires that they normal summon. You spend their normal summon on Enchantress, right? And if they spend their normal summon on Enchantress, then that means they have to hard draw the right or they have to get her off the field somehow and then banish her, right? But that's the thing, like, if they want to play their spells, they have to keep the Enchantress on the field, right? So it becomes very awkward for them. And in fact, that did happen with me in my last locals. One of the times when I ran Secret Village, my opponent did hard draw Enchantress, Water Enchantress of the Temple, and did normal summon her. But the problem is, because they normal summoned her, they couldn't normal summon their main combo. So this specifically happened against an Adventure Prank Kids. So like they normal summon Water Enchantress, but they couldn't. So but because of that, they could not normal summon their Prank Kids monster to go combo off, right? So it becomes very awkward, as you can see, right? Like if they do normal summon the Enchantress, it's very awkward for them, right? I'm not saying it's I mean, it's the best they can do. If they really, really need to play a spell, they would have to normal summon the Enchantress. But it really messes up their turn if they do. So I'm not saying this is foolproof. I'm just saying that this is really, really good against the Adventure package. And yeah, the one time I played that an Adventure Prank Kids, they normal summoned the Enchantress. They were able to play a couple spells. None of them were blowout spells, but they were able to do something, right? As opposed to doing nothing on their turn, right? But their board was very much weaker, and their combo was much weaker. And then against like other matchups, Sky Strikers, they can't play, right? Secret Village, a lot of matchups can't even play, right? So yeah, I really like Secret Village. And on that note, I'm also doubling down on Summon Limit. So one of the issues I had previously with Summon Limit is like a Cosmic Cyclone would take this out, right? Or like Draco back would bounce this back, right? But hey, if you also have Secret Village, like I'm not saying you require to open 2 of these. Really, if you open one of these, you're usually okay. If you open both of these, you just win, right? Like you straight up win. So yeah, Summon Limit still really good. Can single-handedly win you games. Like Dragoon Summon Limit, Dragoon Secret Village can single-handedly win you games. So yeah, so this has been my going first side deck. Now, obviously, if I have 9 slots here and I'm trying to side in 7, pick and choose your poison. Like what you can do is you can keep 2 skill drains, and here's your going first options. Right. This is pretty good. Like, yeah, just so keep that in mind. Like you're still able to have a really strong board and be able to slot in the cards you need. Now, obviously. If we were still at 10 side deck slots, then we still have this 3rd skill drain. But I decided to drop the 9, drop this down to 9 slots, and I'll tell you why now. So the reason I dropped the side deck slots to 1 to 9 down from 10 is because I'm now main decking these, right? Girsu the Orcus Mech Knight as a normal summon alternative to Magician's Rod. Now I have to say, wait, if you're adding 2 cards, but you drop 1 slot. What other card did you drop? I dropped Magician's Rod down to 2. I never thought I'd see the day that I would drop Magician's Rod down to 2, but I did. And the reason I think I can get away with this, and I have when playtesting online and at locals last weekend, or I guess this weekend, is that Illusion of Chaos is super searchable. Like you basically have 5 copies thanks to prep. So even though Rod is the better normal summon, right? Like you prefer to get Rod so you can get the Soul Servant. The fact is that Girsu is really good, right? And like I would say, like you really only need 2 Rods because not only with 2 copies in your main deck, you don't want to see more than 1 in your opening hand, right? That feels bad if you do. And having 2 total helps with that. They do recycle from the graveyard, so if you start with 1 Rod, usually you can just recur that Rod over and over. So it's like, oh, why not drop it to 1 Rod? Well, because if they stop your recursion, or if you can't recur for whatever reason, you have a second one in the deck as backup, right? That you can grab off Illusion of Chaos or Soul Servant or whatever. So I think 2 is a really great ratio right now for Rod. I would not drop this down to 1. I know some other Dark Magician players do. And by the way, other Dark Magician channels, like, they started running Girsu before I have, so I'm not saying like I'm like some novel genius. Like, yeah, I'm paying attention to what other Dark Magician players are doing in the community. And yeah, this is I really like this tech. So yeah, Rod down to 2. This last local, I did not have a single issue with Rod at 2. I barely even noticed it was at 2, to be honest. Yeah, because like usually if I had Magician Souls and like Prep or Illusion Chaos, I was able to get to Rod very easily. Now Girsu, what's up with this Girsu, right? Girsu is not even a spellcaster, it's not even a Dark Magician card. Why are we running it? So for those of you who are not aware, so Girsu is a normal summon. So when you normal summon Girsu, he has 2 effects. First, when you normal summon him, first effect is you activate his effect on summon to send an Orcust or a World Legacy card from your deck to your graveyard. Now, we don't have any World Legacy cards, but we do have an Orcust card. So because we have 2 of these, if this one's in the deck and this one's in your hand, you normal summon this, activate its effect, and then send the other one to your graveyard from your deck. Now, why is that relevant? Well, 2 things. First of all, let's say this is game 1. Your opponent doesn't know what you're playing. You normal summon this, they think you're playing like a Mech Knight deck, right? Where Mech Knight decks really do want to send the World Legacy monster to the graveyard because it turns on a lot of their plays. So this is an Ash bait, right? If they Ash this, sends to the graveyard, it doesn't matter. Like, you just baited Ash. Like, they think it might matter because they think you're running Mech Knights, maybe. But, if they Ash this, like, that's hilarious, right? And then the other effect he has is that on field, if you control no other monsters, you can activate his effect to summon a World Legacy token in defense position to your field. So this is a dark level 1 machine. And you summon a World Legacy token to your opponent's field. Now, why is that important? Well, because you now have 2 bodies on the field and can go into Predator Planet Verde Anaconda, right? So recall that Anaconda requires 2 effect monsters, so what you do is you link off this token into Link Spider, and then you link off these 2 into Predator Planet Verde Anaconda, and you have your way to go to Dragoon. Great, right? Sounds awesome. It's a 1-card Dragoon, right? Now, Girsu is not the only 1-card Dragoon in the game. There's multiple, like the Sky Striker, Hornet Drones is a 1-card Dragoon, Engage, right? There are other 1-card Dragoons. Diviner the Herald is a 1-card Dragoon, and a lot of my other Dark Magician colleagues are running Diviner the Herald. But why do I like Girsu a little bit more? Here's why. So, recall that I said that it summons a token to your field and their field, right? If this token is, because you're putting a card on their field, they will not be able to play Infinite Impermanence against your Anaconda, right? Recall that Infinite Impermanence you can play from your hand as like a hand trap on your opponent's turn. If there are no cards on your field, right? So you cannot play Infinite Impermanence if you have a card. So if you give your opponent a token, they cannot Infinite Impermanence you. I really like that. Like, I like that a lot, right? Not only can they not Infinite Impermanence you, but let's say you make your Dragoon, you pass to their turn, they cannot play Lightning Storm and they cannot play Evenly Matched either, right? So how crazy is that? So you lock out Impermanence, Lightning Storm, and Evenly Matched. Now, I'm not saying it's foolproof, right? Because one thing they can do is on their turn, right? They can switch the token to attack position, go into battle phase, crash the token into one of your monsters, let's say Anaconda, right? And then the token is off their field, and now they can play Lightning Storm and Evenly Match. However, they've already given up their battle phase. If they did that, right? If they didn't do any other combo and they just crashed their token into your Anaconda, they've already given up your battle phase, which means they're not going to out your Dragoon with Zeus, they're not going to out your Dragoon with Accesscode, they're not going to out your Dragoon with any monster in the battle phase. So that means their only way to out your Dragoon now is like through some kind of spell or like monster effect that is a non-targeted bounce or non-targeted banish or something, right? But that's I don't know, I feel like that's really powerful, just being able to lock out your opponent from cards like Lightning Storm and Perm and Evenly Matched, right? So I really like this because of that. And yeah, credit to the other players in the Dark Magician community. Sorry if I don't know exactly who version it is. I think I saw this on Michael Boyd's channel over at Dark Magical Gaming. Maybe he was the one I first saw this in. I think Ryan or maybe Dale, one of the other guys, have also been running Girsu, and yeah, I really like it. So yeah, sorry if I gave the wrong shout out or I forgot you, but yeah, I just try to make it clear that I did not come up with this on my own, like, but I did play test it and try it out and recognize the absolute potential for this, right? All right, what else is great about this combo or this card? So basically, like, so if you activate this effect to make tokens, they're basically forced to imperm this card now, right? Like, if they don't have, because if they're aware that they're going to get locked out of imperm, they're going to imperm this card. But if they imperm this card, guess what? You can now use Magician Souls, put another card on the field, and you've already baited their imperm, right? And then you can go into Anaconda. So, yeah, this card is really great. Other things that are great about this card. This card is theoretically a one-card Accesscode talker, right? Wait, what do you mean? One-card Accesscode talker? How's that possible? So you activate the effect. Let's say it goes through. You make 2 bodies. Both of these monsters are darks, right? And now let's say this is a going second play or maybe a turn 3 play, whatever. You link these 2 away into Dark the Dark Charmer, right? You activate Dark the Dark Charmer to revive one of their dark monsters to a link zone, right? Of course, this is assuming they have a dark monster to revive. Like I'm just saying, like, it's a possibility for a link climb. Anyway, you link these 2 away into Selene. Hopefully, you get at least 3 tokens. Like, so that is situational, right? And hopefully, you have a spellcaster in your graveyard that you can revive in defense position, right? And if you do, goes here, and then you link these 2 away. It's Accesscode talker. Bam. So, yeah, Girsu can single-handedly, with 1 card, climb the Accesscode talker. Obviously, it assumes that, like, you have the conditions for Selene and Dark. Obviously, like, I'm aware that, it's not 100% free or, like, it works every time. But, just keep that in mind, like, if, for, like, a turn 2 or a turn 3 play, that is something you could possibly do. So, yeah, I really like Girsu. Another reason I really like Girsu is it's a dark, so you can play around Goes and Match, assuming you choose to run Goes and Match, or your opponent has Goes and Match, right? The tokens and summons are also darks. You might think, okay, so how is that relevant? Well, remember this card here? Super Polymerization? Yeah, so assuming they only have 1 dark monster on the field, maybe it's DP, maybe it's something else, Ominous Omen, whatever. You basically give them a dark monster. So if they have another dark monster, you can super poly that dark monster with the token that you give them, right? I mean, obviously you can also super poly like Girsu with the dark monster, but this is a nifty little thing that I noticed online that this does make your super poly plays a little like more live. So like one thing I noticed is that a lot of players who play DPE, they try to play around super poly by using DPE to pop their own Anaconda, so they can't, so you can't super poly their DPE with Anaconda. Obviously, if they have like Bardiche or some other dark, it doesn't matter. But like, yeah, you can force give them a dark monster through this and then super poly them anyway. So, I mean, it's not foolproof. Like if they pop your Girsu before you can use the effect. But again, like if they do try that, like, or if you think that they're smart enough to do that, you can normal summon Girsu, change super poly to the on summon effect, right, and then fuse Girsu with their DP anyway. So I don't know. I really like this interaction, and I know like other Dark Magicians players, they prefer to play maybe Diviner of the Herald, which can do some like ritual plays with like Illusion of Chaos and Herald the Arclight, but I actually like this more. I have play tested Diviner of Diviner of the Heralds, and I don't like it right at the moment because it takes up extra deck slots that I don't want to give up right now because I'm running Super Poly, right? Like maybe if we shy away from a Super Poly format, which probably won't happen for a while because we're soon going to be going to like a Despia branded format, then maybe like we can think about like going to Diviner. But I think right now Girsu is like the best normal summon alternative to Rod, right? Okay, so what does this mean for because I don't know how many of y'all are familiar with my channel or like my content, but one thing I like to do is I like to play test, simulate hands. I'm a numbers guy, right? So I did go on EDO Pro and I did simulate 100 hands using this new tech. And basically what I found is that I was able to, my opening hand had the ability to make Dragoon 95% of the time, right? So before I added in the Girsu tech, my opening hand was making Dragoon maybe 86 to 90% of the time, depending on, on whether or not I had Droll, like on a few factors. But I noticed that like main decking Girsu and Droll made it so that I actually had Dragoon in 95% of my opening hands. So 19 out of 20 opening hands, I was able to make Dragoon, right? And it was like, okay, but making Dragoon is one thing, but how does that affect our total number of interruptions, right? So our actual average number of interruptions went up slightly. So I think before Girsu, it was at around 3.1. Now it's at like 3.18, which rounds to 3.2. So it definitely didn't. So we do make Dragoon more often, and we do not trade off total number average number of interruptions as a result, which is good, right? And some people ask me, oh, why aren't you running the Sky Striker package, right? So from play testing with the Sky Striker package, yes, with the Sky Striker package, we make Dragoon more often, but we end our board with fewer interruptions, right? Like, noticeably fewer. Like, so instead of Girsu, if I had the Sky Striker package, I also would hit maybe like 92 to 95% Dragoon rate, but like, with the if you actually count the total number of interruptions that you end your board with and tally that, we actually had fewer, right? With the Sky Striker package. So that's just something I noticed when playtesting that with that as well. So yeah, I really like this. And like the fact that like this sends an Orcus from your deck means you're thinning out your deck, and that also means that if you use Soul Servant to draw 2, you're more likely to draw into a useful card, right? Like so yeah, I also like that about this. Yeah, another interesting interaction which I thought was unexpected was I did play against a player last locals that used There Can Be Only One, right? Which forced me to not be able to have more than one spellcaster. So I had to go I had to stay with Dragoon and then Verde Anaconda, right? But then this monster is a machine, so I was able to normal this monster on my turn. So now I have like Verde Anaconda, Girsu, and like Dragoon. So I have the ability to like, I forgot how exactly, but I remember I was able to link climb up to Accesscode Talker and then just like OTK them. But yeah, like the fact that this is a machine means you can slightly play around. There Can Be Only One. Like this is a machine. Magician's Souls is a spellcaster, right? So let's say you're going second. You have this and Magician's Souls in hand, right? You normal this. Maybe you try to activate the effect to make the token, right? These tokens are machines. They chain There Can Be Only One, so you can't make the token, but you can still normal special summon Magician's Souls with a spellcaster, right? Machine with a spellcaster links into Anaconda, which is a plant, and then Anaconda makes Dragoon, which is a spellcaster. So, yeah, I found that Girsu was really good against playing There Can Be Only One, and There Can Be Only One is a really tough card against our deck because our deck has a lot of spellcasters, right? And without, like, how else do we make Anaconda with 2 bodies? Like before, without Girsu, we would have to use spellcasters as materials. Now with Girsu, we have the option of like playing around There Can Be Only One and actually like having this dark machine to be able to do it. If he's summoned in a column that has 2 or more cards, he becomes a tuner. So this becomes a level 4 tuner. And you might think, okay, so what does that matter? Well, right now it doesn't, but maybe in the future that might open up the possibility of making some synchro plays, right? Like this is a level 4 tuner potentially, and maybe if you have Magician's Souls, you get a level 6 Dark Magician Girl on the field, and then you can do a synchro 10 play, right? Like could be Barone. Just spitballing here ideas, right? I'm just saying like this could open up potential synchro plays in the future. Like obviously that'd be a going second play. Really like these. I highly recommend you try these out in your main deck. Yeah, I think you'll be pretty happy with this. I was fairly happy with this. This is like a 50-cent card, by the way. It was in the Megatons as a reprint, ultra rare, 50-cent card. So no excuse for not trying it out. At least trying it out, right? And then of course I picked these are from like some OTS packs. I think the tokens were actually more expensive than these. These are super rare World Legacy tokens, and they're like $2 or $3. And then one last thing I wanted to talk about is Super Poly. Alright, so people have asked me about my Super Poly targets or like Super Poly target alternatives. So recall that these are the 4 Super Poly targets that I decided on. Mud Dragon and Starving Venom Fusion, very obvious. These are kind of no-brainers. I don't think anyone would ever cut these out as Super Poly targets. But you might think, alright, maybe these 2 are optional. Like, what's this Drago Stapelli? What's this about? Well, This can fuse a fusion monster with any dark monster. If you're against an invoked DP player, I don't know if those still exist. I heard that, you know, I have seen a few around still. You can super poly Mechaba and DP into this. Like, how great is that, right? And this card has an ability. It's a quick effect. Once per turn, place a counter on this targeted on a face-up monster your opponent controls, and it becomes level 1. And then its effect is negated as long as it has a counter. So, yeah, this can mess up their synchro plays. It can shut off their effects once per turn. It's pretty good. It's not as good going second, but it is pretty good if you're going first. You make this on your opponent's turn, and now you have an addition. Not only did you clear 2 of their monsters, now you have a negate, right? Funny story about I was playing a base deck this weekend at locals, and I put out Dragoon and I set Super Poly and, like, I think Chalice or I don't know, one other card. And they summon DPE and then they droplet my Dragoon, right? No, they Dark Rule no more my Dragoon. I remember. So my Dragoon is negated, right? And as soon as DP is summoned, right, I'm thinking, all right, if Dragoon is negated, DP can now pop Dragoon and then recur itself. So I flip Super Poly, fusing my Dragoon with their DP into this guy. And now I have a 2700 beater that can negate monsters and make them level 1, right? So a base deck is highly dependent on, well, not just monster effects, but also, like, their levels because they need a synchro summon. This kills it, right? So I ended up winning with this card. All right, and then you know, prank kids. So the reason I ran this is because I noticed that, like, there were a lot of prank kids at my locals. There were, like, maybe so 2 weekends ago there was like at least three prank kids players that I played personally, and then there were some others that I did not play against. But yeah, feel free to swap these out, and it really depends on your meta, your locals meta. So, like, this weekend, I did not see very many prank kids players, so this actually never came up. I played against one prank kids player. I just never saw Super Poly against him. It didn't matter because, like, we tied because of time rules. But yeah, here are some alternatives that you can run, which are pretty good. Guilty Gearfried, the Magical Steel Knight. So this is a fusion of 2 warrior monsters of different attributes. Whoa, this is blurry. Let me see if I can. 2 warrior monsters with different attributes. So if you notice that your locals has a lot of base decks, this fuses DPE with Barone, the Fleur. Barone is a wind warrior, and DPE is a dark warrior. So you can Super Poly Barone and DPE with this guy. So this weekend I didn't know. So there were fewer prank kids players, and there was a base. There were a couple of base deck players. I beat one of them without, like, using Draco Stapella. I didn't even need this guy. But if you notice your locals has a lot of base players, maybe you should go with this. If you see they have a lot of prank kids player, maybe go with this. If they have a lot of Sky Striker players, bam, Absolute Zero. Wait, Absolute Zero? What the hell? Yeah, so Absolute Zero is a fusion of a hero monster with a water monster. So guess what? You're going second. They end their board with DPE and Shizuku, right, which is the water Sky Striker. Super Poly, DPE, and Shizuku to this guy, and they're toast, right? I mean, Sky Striker is not a good deck, so I doubt your locals are going to be swarming with Sky Striker. I did play one Sky Striker player this last weekend, though. I don't think I needed Super Poly into this. Like, I was able to beat him with just, like, Secret Village and other stuff, but yeah, this is pretty hilarious. What if your locals has a lot of Eldritch decks? Bam. Eldritch the Mad Golden Lord. This is a Super Poly target. Check this out. So this is 1 Eldritch monster and 1 level 5 or higher zombie monster. So that means you can fuse 2 Golden Lords into this, or you can fuse a Golden Lord plus any of the Golden Land traps, right? And then read its effect. Cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. You can you can tribute 1 zombie monster and then target. So the second effect is not as important, but the first effect that says cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects is really good, because look at this attack. It's 3,800 attack, 3,500 defense. So not only can their Eldritch revive from the graveyard, which has 3,500 attack, not even swing over this monster, but let's say they go into their rank 10s plays. They go into I don't know, Dreadnought Lieb, right, and get 6,000 attack. They can attack this, but it will not be destroyed. Let's say they go into Accesscode play. Accesscode cannot pop this with this effect. It cannot attack over this. Like, yeah, you can do damage, but it will not destroy this card, is the point, right? So the only way they can destroy this card is with Ice Dragon's Prison, and you don't have any zombies in your graveyard, so it'll never come up. Or if they have Skill Drain, which will obviously negate this card's effect, and then they pop this card using a combination of Eldritch plus Conk, or with like a, what's it called, like maybe a Torrential Tribute, or if you summon, or I guess if they have Dogmatic of Punishment and they send their rank 10 with 4,000 attack, assuming it wasn't like banished for Extrav or whatever. So they have a very hard time outing this card. So if you see a lot of Eldritch players at your locals, and in fact, this week I did see actually more Eldritch players in Based and Prank Kids. So my locals, like the meta varies. Like 1 week everyone's playing Prank Kids, 1 week everyone's playing Eldritch, right? 1 week everyone's playing Sky Striker. I definitely felt like this week was the Eldritch week because I saw a lot of Eldritch players. I even lost against one because I just never drew into my side deck cards. But if I did have this in my side deck, I definitely would have won because I did have Super Poly, obviously, and Super Poly doesn't do much against Eldritch without this. Like technically, their Lord of Heavenly Prison is dark, so you can make Mud Dragon if you have a dark monster, right? But it's not great. You can also use Super Poly to fuse Artemis, which is a light spellcaster, with Eldritch to make this. It's not great. Like this is way higher impact, right? If you're running into trouble with Eldritch, or there's a lot of Eldritch players at your locals, run this. Trust me, you will win. Just Super Poly 2 of their Eldritches or their Eldritch with a Gold Land monster, and they will be super screwed. Like it'll be very hard for them to out this. So yeah, just giving options for Super Poly targets. Definitely keep Mud Dragon and Starving. I think these are non-negotiable. But like the last 2 slots, maybe you can play around with. Again, depends on your locals, right? Arguably, in terms of like, if we forget about locals and we just look at meta dependence, maybe Guilty Gearfried, and because the top 2 decks people say are the base deck and the Adventure Prank Kids. Yeah, these deal with both of them, right? But like I said, at my locals, there are base decks, but there's not that many, and the number of Prank Kids decks have decreased a little bit since the previous weekend. So right now I'm still running these, but maybe I'll consider, depending on, I don't know, like after this last weekend, after seeing how many Eldritch players, it definitely made me want to like swap these out or one of these out for the Eldritch, the Mad Golden Lord. So yeah, I have not seen enough Sky Striker players to justify Absolute Zero, but hey, if you do, go for it, right? It's really hilarious if you fuse their DPE and Shizuku and Absolute Zero. So anyway, yeah, I just want to talk about that because I know some people did mention this card in my comments in my other videos. Like, yes, I'm aware this card exists. I'm aware it's good, but again, and yeah, it's good against Based, fuses Barone and DP. I get it, but again, it's very locals dependent. Like, what decks are you actually seeing at your locals? I am seeing some Base, but I don't think I'm seeing enough Base decks to justify this quite yet. Especially since like Mud Dragon can fuse Herald the Arclight with Chi-Shao, or Herald the Arclight with Cheng-Ying, right? So I have used these 2, and also this. I have played against base decks where I made these, right? Like if they have Warlord Savage and DP, bam, right? If they have Arclight and Cheng-Ying, bam. So I have made these against base where I haven't felt like I really needed the Guilty Gearfried monster. So yeah, but again, your mileage may vary. Like you might have a different experience than me, and maybe these. So yeah, consider these alternative Super Poly targets. All right. Well, yeah, just want to go over that, touch base about my latest updates to my Dark Magician profile. Hopefully, you'll learn something. Hopefully, you've seen some more options and like possibilities for your own deck. But yeah, thanks for watching, and see you on the next video. Peace.